All right, so this is what's going to happen tonight. We are going to get started. I'm going to talk about how I got started, because the last time I did the Facebook Live, I had a couple people ask me, why have you been intuitive for so long? When did you get started? People always ask me, how did you know that you were intuitive? How did you know you had these gifts? And I think it's important to share what it's all about. And like, how do you know? And how do you create a better connection with spirit and to listen? I think for some people, it just certainly comes naturally, while others, we might have to work on it. It depends on where your journey is when you come into this earth, and your contracts that you already have, how open you are, how nurtured you are when you're growing up. And that makes a big, big difference. So with that being said, I was very blessed to be raised with somebody, my mom, who was very intuitive. And my mom believed in, spirit. She believed in God and Creator. And, and I think that how many of you have had an intuitive experience? That's what I would like to know. And I think that that's the most important thing is, sometimes we just have this internally, and we know that we have special gifts, but we don't know what to do with them, or we're scared to use them. And I know that I have a couple people on here right now who are listening. So if you are somebody who has had a message or intuitive gifts, or you don't know what to do with them, you've had an experience, let me know, put it out there in the comment area. And I'd love to hear from you, because I think it's important for me to understand who and who's had situations happen before to them. And if you embrace them, I think that's the most important thing. Do you embrace them? Or have you run away from them? And I think that's the most important thing. I think there's so many amazing ways to get in tune with your gifts, but it's also about, learning to embrace them and not running away from them. So, angel visitation. Betsy, hey, how are you? Oh, yes, angel visitations. Yes, I know that you are definitely an intuitive spirit. And now that I see who you are, it was so small going by, I couldn't tell. And so you and I definitely are very in tune. We understand what's happening. And I think that it's important for so many people, because I know that you truly believe this too, is that so many people, it's time for them, because this is like an enlightening period within our world right now. We went through we keep shifting to a higher and higher plane. More and more people are becoming so aware, so in tune, when for so many years we were closed off and we weren't able to look anywhere else. We were raised in, maybe religious sectors and churches that didn't let you tune in. You only were able to pray out there, and to pray and not listen. So now we're in the age of so much enlightenment that we're able to listen, and we're taught to listen. So it is a totally different coming of age, and I'm so happy for that. And Betsy, I know that you probably feel the same exact way as I do, because that is what we love to do, is to teach others to become more intuitive, to become more in tune with themselves. So I'll probably just get started, and I think that there's such a difference being on the personal to the fan page that I'll probably just post this video over there. And I love getting the comments, and I think that we just don't get as many people on the fan page yet, but it's growing, and I'm going to be doing more and more on here. So with that being said, when I was younger, I was about 16 years old, as I posted earlier, and there was one point when I had messed with a Ouija board. Don't ever mess with a Ouija board. And that will scare you to death. You don't know what you're bringing in. You don't know what you're doing. So I think that so many of us when we're younger, that was a really big experience. It was fun. It was different. It was cool. It's like, what do you do? We're do the Ouija board. Don't do the Ouija board ever. Because you don't know who and what you're bringing in. You're just this loose cannon. It's like walking out into the middle of the city and saying, hey, here I am. Who wants to come and talk to me? You don't know who's going to come and talk to you. Don't talk to strangers, right? Stranger danger. That's the Ouija board. So I don't even know if they sell Ouija boards anymore. But don't ever go to the Ouija board. That's it. So we actually had somebody, because I would do it on my own because I thought it was really cool, and I would do it with friends too. And every now and then, and that's when I had some really interesting beings, entities coming in. But the interesting thing was it was like always the same ones, always the same one. His last name was like Snodgrass, and that was really crazy. He was very scary. Then he started entering to me in my dreams, and he started... Actually, they can get very sexual with you too. Entities can. So you don't want to really mess with what it is that you don't understand and don't know. And that's the Ouija board. So what's important is to become intuitive and trusting through sacred space, knowing that you're safe and you're secure. So when my aunt passed away, my mom's sister, my Auntie Claire, she came to me. And that was my first visitation. And that is when it started to happen. And that was when it was like, yes, it was time for me to really get tuned in to spirit. And because I knew her, because I could tell her energy, after she passed away, she came to me. And I was crying one night, and I was thinking about her, and I started hearing her. And my fingers would start to I could just tell, they would just begin to move, and I could feel that energy. And so many times, if you know there's somebody around, you might be able to, an energy or a spirit or an angel, you can just hear them, or you can feel them, or you can sense them, right? Oh, who is there? I would love this. Yes, yes, yes. So, Betsy, I know that you hear them. Well, how do you hear your messages? Do you hear them? Do you sense them? Do you feel them? And whoever else, I can't see who it is. For some reason, it's showing up very, very small, the little hearts. So I love the hearts. Thank you, thank you. Whoever else is all coming on here, let me hear right in the comment section. Do you get messages? And how do you hear, feel, see, or know them? Because that is so important, because this is how we can connect. And I think it's important for people to understand what it is that we need to do to connect. You hear them in my head. Yeah, I know. I do too, right? We hear voices. Do you ever see them? Do you ever see them? Because oftentimes I see them, or I can feel, I can sense, I hear and I sense, and oftentimes I even see. So there's been a couple situations where I've seen them. Hi, Nicole. How are you? I get messages from Nina Simone. Whenever I put her music on autoplay, a song always repeats. Wow, that's really powerful. So, yeah, so we get them. Oh, I hear them on my head. So we get them by all these different types of messages. So when I was younger, I was there laying in bed, and basically I started crying, and then I just sensed her. I just knew that she was there. And the angel, I actually saw it. She came to me when my eldest daughter was run over by the car. Yeah, wow. She came to you before she passed. Wow, that's really powerful, Betsy. And so it's important for us. And did you feel scared, or were you comforted? Because I think that's the most important thing is people say, oh, I'm so scared of the other side because we're scared of ghosts. We're scared of what we see on TV. It's not always like what you see on TV. And just like in real life, my other daughter. Actually, she came to me when my eldest daughter was run over by a car. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, that's really powerful. Um, so the messages come through, and that's what's most important, is for us to be aware of them, because sometimes they'll come as a sign, a knowing, and that's our connection, and to be aware of those connections constantly, because we are not here alone. So when they told me that they were with her and she'd be okay. Oh, that's beautiful. So when my aunt came to me, the same thing. She came to me and she comforted me. And they can come through in dreams. Your guides and your angels and your loved ones. When your loved ones pass, they're never gone. They're never gone. And they are always with you. They watch you. They take care of you. Today I was at a networking meeting and I saw a friend of mine there. And, I started talking to her. And normally when there's an entity, a spirit, a guide, an angel around, what's going to happen? I say this all the time. You guys see me, my nose starts to itch. I always get this itchy nose. It doesn't stop until I get the messages are heard. Or maybe they're just here to tell me that I'm here, that they're here, and they're here to keep me supported. So it's important for me to know, like, and trust that I am surrounded by, I call them the army of angels, because we all have the army of angels, the army of love that supports us from the other side. You just have to be aware, so that way we are never, ever, ever alone. And that's the most important thing. So when you're growing up and you're a teen, I was always connected. My mom was very intuitive. So, and she wasn't an energy healer then, but she's worked with it as she got older and as I got older. But she was, read Louise Hay's, and she was around Wayne Dyer's work. And these are the books that I grew up with. These are the thought patterns that I grew up with. So being very open, although we did grow up Catholic as well, but then we kind of meandered from that and, got into a different program, which with our own spirituality full of love and joy. So when the angels came, when she came in, she stayed with me for a very long time. And she started teaching me, and I didn't understand why, but she started teaching me and telling me all about the different dimensions of time and space. And it was really powerful. And so then every time then I started becoming more aware of energy when I was in my low 20s, because this was traveling with me. And so I was like, it would be like constant conversations. My mom was like, you talk so much. She goes, it doesn't even matter who you talk to. You'll talk to people from the other side. And I'm like, I know. I said, it was fun to, I love people, but I love spirit too. And we could have conversations from the other side as much as we can in this place. And that's what's most important, is to understand that we don't ever die. And we just travel to different frequencies and different levels of dimensions depending on our light space, our light bodies, and how much our frequency is raised on this earth. So we come here at one level. When we come in here, we're born with nothing. We come in here fresh, a fresh start. And then it's important for us to learn what we need to learn so we can come out of here at another level, a higher level than what we came in at. And it's all a choice, right? So when I was in my 20s, I, meditated all the time, and I was always hearing this, listening to her messages, and I have journals upon journals about all these different things. And then I started hearing messages that were really, really strong about like the earth and the changes and the transformations that we're having, like in my low 20s. And this is, going back to in my, I guess, the 1980s. And I didn't really understand what was going on. No, actually, the early 1990s. And I didn't really understand what was going on with all these transformations and changes happening on our earth plane, and with our spirituality, our ascensions and things that were changing and growing in our enlightenment. Then what happened, the messages started getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I started seeing visions of what I was doing. And it wasn't just my aunt coming through now. Now I'm getting some really higher level beings that were coming through. Guides that were very strong, very loving, but like almost as if they were archangels coming through to give me messages. And when those messages started coming through, they were loud and clear that it was messages of what I was going to be doing 20 years later, like what I'm doing now. And then there were messages about, what's happening in our world and how it's going, that we have stuff that is falling apart and how our Mother Earth is in frequency and how we are exactly in tune with the same frequency of our planet. So as we raise a vibration of our heart space, our world and our Earth is more at peace, and that we have a complete same magnetic resonance, and we're a mirror image of each other, our Mother Earth and who we are. So that's when I started, but that's when I couldn't take it anymore. And then I wanted to shut down. I just shut down. I'm like, you know what? I can't handle these messages. This is way too scary. I don't understand what's going on. And I don't want to talk to dead people anymore. Every time I go to a funeral, I would talk to the dead people more than I talk to the people alive. Could you imagine such a thing? And it was just normal. And I just had these conversations constantly. Like Betsy says, she hears them in their head. And that's what, so many of us, we hear the whispers in our head. The messages that we are so connected to our angels and to our guides and to God, that we open, when you get out of the chaos and you open up and you listen and you begin to write and you begin to journal, there's so much information that comes through. That's how I wrote my first book. Where's my book up here? It's my 2012 Mother Earth book. I'm going to get it right here. It's this book. And, oops, it's all backwards on here. But yeah, that was my first book I wrote. And, and that was before the 2012 happened. And that was in 2010. And then, and then I started writing more and more books. But in between all this, guess what happened? I completely shut down. I didn't want to hear anything anymore. I just wanted to get married. I wanted to have a family. I went through all these dramas and traumas of, things that happened with, there was a lot of really bad, tragic things that happened in my life that involved murder and, death and, lies and deception. And I just said, you know what? I just need to deal with my life. I don't want to know anything about what's going on from the other side. I'm going to walk around with my blinders on. How many of you walk around with your blinders on? You don't want to know nothing from nothing. You just want to stay in your own space. It's all about you. Life should be all about you, but it's not about closing down. It's about opening up and being as open as you can about the highest and best way that you can to tune into this entire world. And to raise your frequency. When you shut down, you block everything. Does that make sense? How many of you get what I'm talking about? And have you experienced this before? Go ahead, type. I want to see. I need some feedback here. I'm ready for some feedback. So, yeah. So let me hear what's happening. And if you... Yes. Oh, hey Nina, how are you? Yay! Yes, I know that you also have learned and grown so much since, we've been friends. And Nina, I know that you've told me before, how long have we known each other for? 8 years maybe, and maybe even longer. And what would you say the best gift of all is that you learned from all of this? And Betsy, yes, you understand. Hey Rachel, how are you? You made it over. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so how do I see my visions in my head or like a dream? Well, we were talking about that earlier, Rachel, and basically everybody has a different way. Everybody has a different way. Just like some people are auditory, they hear things, and so it's more important for them to listen to things in real life than it is for them to be visual, right? And some people are more conceptual, and they're more of a thinker, right? And more analytical. So there's different parts of, just like we have different personalities, those personalities that we have is how we receive our messages. Some of us are more multidimensional, and the more that you work with your gifts, the more that you're able to hear, see, feel, or know from the other side, probably in more multiple different ways. So I have been able to see, I hear, I sense, and know. So, but those gifts, they always came in different forms, and sometimes they always show up differently. So in a dream, yes, and even in a dream, I think that dreams are so important. And as you well know, you have psychic dreams. So do you want to post something? And I am not a dream expert, but I have to be. You're so funny. Nina says, I have to be knocked on the head. I get smells, really strong smells. Yeah, sometimes, and that's it. You just have to be aware. So oftentimes, and this is something that's really important, sometimes it's our senses. Like I said before, it's our senses: feeling, seeing, sight, sound, noise, smell, feelings. There's so many different ways. So Rachel, take your dreams and begin to, do you write down your dreams, Rachel? I know that you're a writer. Do you write your dreams? Let me know if you write your dreams, because it's really important. Take your dream journal and start, writing your dreams down in your dream journal. And so then you can start tracking them. That's really important, especially when you're trying to really we're really trying to strengthen your gifts. Sometimes. So even if you can just even say it into, just to recollect and keep a verbal journal and just record it, that's easy enough, and just record it. And then you can, save that recording with the date and the topic, Then you can go back and listen to it, because this is a way to begin to become more aware. It's about learning to become more aware with our third eye, become more aware with our feelings, our senses, our knowing, and learning. The more open you are with your chakras, the more open you are in your energy level. I really, really, really want to learn how to do 2 people at the same time on Facebook, because I would love to do my $1 million energy imprints right there online side by side. And Rachel, I'd love to have you come on. I could read your chakras and tell you, maybe this is why, maybe where you're blocked at. Because, or maybe you're not blocked. Maybe it's just a practice. Maybe it's just practicing more. Taking the time to learn. And that's all it really is. So yes, for me, parts of it came natural. But what doesn't come natural for people, and hey, Lee, I didn't even see you there. Hi, Lee. And Betsy, I know you can attest, all of you can attest to this one, is what doesn't come natural is trusting the process. That is what doesn't come natural. I think that's why I shut down for almost 10 years. I didn't want to hear nothing from nothing. All I wanted to do was have a family. I wanted to maybe have babies. This was after my first husband passed away. Well, yeah, because I was mad. I was mad as heck. I was pissed. My husband, passed away with brain cancer. In 4 months, he was gone. In 6 months, he was gone. It was 6 months. He was diagnosed in December, and he passed away in May. So that's 6 months. My son was 1 year old at the time. Did I want to think about meditating and thinking about life changes and world changes? And the only thing I wanted to do was I was in survival mode. And Betsy, I know you can understand what I'm talking about here. All I wanted to do was talk to my dead husband. That was it. And being a channeler, that is what got me through. He would do laundry. Sometimes I'd find the laundry up, laundry down. It was like the movie Ghost. I wanted him by me until I can learn to grow without him. And it was a slow transition. And that is so important. And this is when I say, yes, the hearts are so important because, when you realize that we are never separated, that we have this amazing gift that's within us to connect to the other side. Your sorrow is deep, but it's never cuts you as if you never lose connection. Like if it's the dead end, it's the end of the road, there's nothing else there. And I know that for those of you who have had a deep, deep loss, that is like the one thing is like, can I please talk to them again? Can I please connect with them again? And for those of you who are open like Betsy and I, it's the light. It's the biggest gift in the entire world. And we are all connected. We can all do this, but we receive our messages in different ways, like Nina does and Rachel does. And I'm sure everybody does. I know everybody does because we're all children of God. We are all energy. We are just vibration. Energy moves. That's all it does, is it just changes form. So energy never, ever, ever dies. So what's important to know is that we just change form. That's all we do. We just go from a physical shell, we leave it, our energy levels here. So when I teach my $1 Million Energy Imprints, and when I do that for people, what am I reading? I'm reading the energy imprint of your subconscious blocks of each and every chakra. And that is going to hold in there to tell you, if you died right now at this very moment, what would happen if you are at heaven's gates? What are they going to say when they say, it's not like you just talk to them and say, oh yeah, I've been a good girl, or I've been a good boy, bad boy. When they read your energy imprint, that's what it is. You carry it with you. And our whole purpose is to raise that vibration, get rid of our blocks, all the not trusting, growing, loving, honoring. We live in fear. We're scared. We don't know how to break out. We want to get to the next level. We don't know how. That stuff, jealousy, anger, frustration, the lack of self-confidence, all those things need to go. They don't need to exist. And that's the whole purpose of this life, is to become one big learning lesson. So getting back to the whole fact of when I was at that networking meeting, which I forgot to tell you about, I saw somebody and all of a sudden my nose started itching really, really, really bad. And this was just today. And then so I told her, I said, I just got to stop right now. And her name is Joy, actually. And I said, Joy, I just got to stop right now. I just got to tell you. I said, you have a massive mention. I got to listen because my nose is not going to stop itching me. And that's always my sign, my nose itches. So anyway, I said, let me just hear what they're saying. Ends up that, which, and I don't like to live my life as a channeler. I am not the Long Island medium. I just like to tune in and tune out at my own convenience. But sometimes the messages are very strong and they really want to touch lives. So ends up that, it was her grandmother who had a heart condition, and the message was for her mother. But then what was really important was that, I had forgotten that her daughter had passed away years ago at a young age. So then she says, can you get in touch with my daughter? And so I did. And you know what? I couldn't get a really strong message, but what I could get was the feeling. Her grandmother, I saw that how she passed, and, I wasn't really sure. I just knew it was somebody attached to her mother. I kept thinking it was an aunt, but I knew it was somebody that was a little bit older than, who was my friend. But then that's when we could put the connection together that it was, her grandmother. But this one, because I could see her, and I explained what she looked like. But then when her daughter came through, I couldn't really see it. I could really feel it, and I could hear it, and that was a little bit different. And, but what was really important was the message was that I just want to hug you, Mom. That was all it was, is Mom, I just want to hug you. And it's that feeling of physical being. And her and I hugged, and it's like, I've known her through business for a while, for a few years. And, we have a connection. But honestly, to tell you, I have never hugged hardly anybody this strong before, and it was so strong and so loving, and it was heart to heart connection coming through, and you could just feel, and afterwards we both had goosebumps. And that to me is, the biggest gift of all, is that, and like when my husband passed away, that was the biggest gift of all, was, being there and knowing that he was still with me and feeling that sense that he's still with me. So nowadays, no, I don't really, need that, because I've moved on. I'm remarried and life has gone on, and my son is now 18, and he is a spitting image of his father. But one day, here's what happened. Here's another, for instance, is when I walk out of my bedroom into the kitchen, and this was like 2 years ago. And my son was a teenager at the time, and things were tough because, it's those teenage years. And I know. So, of course, I'm thinking, I'm not a great mother. This is, so hard sometimes. And, teens are teens. And, we've all been there, done that with our teens. They just want to grow up to be independent. And, now we're like this close together. But at that time, it was challenging. So literally I'm in the kitchen, and my son had his baseball cap, sitting on the countertop. So I just walk out of the kitchen. I'm the only one home, work from home. Everybody's gone. And all of a sudden I hear this, like that, right? And I turn around, I'm like, what the heck was that? And I look, and there literally, I was over here, but behind me, out of the blue, was his baseball cap on the ground. Now, my first husband always wore a baseball cap. Always wore a hat. It had to be his favorite football team, his favorite sports team, whatever, but he always wore his cap. Well, there was the cap. This is my son's cap sitting on the floor. I turn around, I look at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, right? And I look up, and clear as day is Frank standing there. Clear as day. It was the first time I'd seen him in I don't know how long. I can't remember that I saw him like this strong. I don't even know if I've ever, probably when we first passed, I saw him many times, but when he was at this point, in time, he was just so strong, and the message was so strong, and he says to me, he says, I am so happy. He says, you are doing such a great job of Kyle. I am so proud of him, and I am so proud of you for doing what it is that you need to do to move forward in your life and living with passion and purpose. And that was so powerful, because I needed that support. I needed that knowing that I was doing a good job, because how many times do we need that validation? You know what I mean? That we need the validation. We need the validation from God. We need the yeah, wow, right, Rachel? Yeah, I know. But this is real. And, there's been many times when I've had, experiences with very low frequency spirits that, and I think it's important for us to be in tune with high frequency and to know how to deal with low frequency. Just like we do with people on earth. It's no different. And this is why it's so important for us to use our gifts and our intuition, so we can tell who is surrounding us, who is around us, because they're going to be here no matter what. And our light is so bright, our energy is so bright, that they're just energetic beings coming and going in different dimensions of time and space as much as we are on this planet. You don't know. I always tell people, look, you have no idea who you're standing next to. At the bank, at the grocery store, they could be a murderer. They could be somebody who's a, pastor. They could be somebody who's a really great person, or they could be somebody who, is loving and endearing and a light worker, or they can be somebody who's evil and just horrible, abusive, whatever it might be. And, the same on the other side, the same thing. So isn't it smart to be in tune? So we all go through our times of ups and downs. And yeah, when I close down, I don't want to know nothing from nothing at all. Nothing. I don't want to hear anything from the other side except for what I need to do in my life. And I didn't want it to be spiritual. I just wanted to talk to my first husband and raise my kid. That's all. And be in survival mode. And that's where I stayed, in survival mode. When I was ready. And how did I open back up again 10 years later? My mom tells me, she says, you know, honey, it's time for you to open back up. You need to take this class. So I took a Theta Healing class. For those of you who have heard of Theta Healing, I took a Theta Healing class, and that was the end of that. It was, it opened me up. I opened back up again. That's when I got the messages saying that, you know what, you are not going to be in the entertainment business anymore. You're not going to be working with, you're always going to be working with children. You're going to die with your clown shoes on. Yes, I was a clown. And I had a very profitable, very good, strong business working with children. And, but they said, you're going to die with your clown shoes on. You're always going to be doing that. But you're going to be moving in a different direction. And I cried. But it was so funny because I heard the messages, but in the healing class, we were hearing the messages together. And some people I worked with said the same thing as I heard. And this is not by chance. They said, you're here for bigger things. This is not by chance. So I knew this when I was in my 20s. I knew that there were certain people I would be working with in my 20s that we weren't even doing this line of work. But we knew that we were going to be working together in the future. So, it's the craziest thing. When I was in high school, I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. I knew it. With anybody asked, I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was. But I knew it. So we all have a sense of knowing. We all have a sense of feeling. We all have a sense of smell. People who are blind, who can't see, do you think that they're in tune? Heck yeah. Their senses are more in tune. Their feelings, their hearing, their feelings, their knowing is more in tune. So oftentimes when there's a couple classes I teach, and one of them is I always blindfold everybody. I blindfold them and we begin to paint or we do artwork. And that's how we really become more in tune. And then I guide them through messages that they receive. And we do it through artwork. And that's really important because who cares what it looks like? What's important is that you trust the messages. So you need to trust the messages. So what do you think? Did I blow your minds? And I know some of you might understand what's happening here. Let me hear some feedback. Questions, I'd love to hear some. And what would be your biggest question or knowing or that you would like to share about this topic? And that is, that's just really important. So, because as you ask a question, it's going to help somebody else. And whoever listens to this, they're going to hear it, and then they're going to probably wonder the same exact thing. Because, so 16, 26, 36, 46, 30, 35 years I've been doing this. And you know what? It's the most important thing, I think, out of everything. And Betsy, if you're still on the call, I'm sure you'll completely agree with me. Is that what's most important is learn how to shut down and learn how to stay open. Because if you are always open and your light is always on, then what happens is that you are going to feel drained. Emotionally, you become an empath. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say empath? So do you get spirit coming to you from others like across the web? Do I get spirit coming to me from others like across the web? Meditation helps with being open. Yes, it does, Betsy, because you're close. Yeah, definitely. Meditation definitely helps, just being quiet and getting out of the chaos and listening, or just putting your hand down and allowing it to move. That's so cool. I'd love to teach a class like that. Okay, so Rachel, getting back to your question. So do you get spirit coming to you from others like across the web? I'm not really sure what you mean, but does that mean it's just open? Do you mean just being open and like just receiving messages all the time? Like Long Island Medium? Is that what you mean? If that's what you mean, just go ahead and comment, but I'm going to go on with that topic for right now. Is when I was younger, I didn't know how to shut down. When I was younger, I got messages all the time and I was extremely empathic. And so what would happen is now, like, I work with my chakras, I work with a blast off to create your, okay, yes, okay, great. So I learned to shut down, not all the time. It helps with being open, not all the time. Okay. So, yeah, so I believe that it's really important to be in control of our energy field at all times. That is most important, because when you don't, that's when your light is on. You can't control it. We want our lights to always be on. I don't get messages very often. Oh, you don't, Betsy? I thought you always did. Oh, we're going to have to work on that. Okay. Because you are so in tune. So, yeah, so I believe that that's the most important thing, is that yes, you can get messages often. I'm going to share, you want to hear a scary story? I'll tell you one. I have many, but so what happens is that if you ever feel that there's an entity that's around you that isn't good, if you're not getting good messages, or you feel like there's something that's happening, it is new to me. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I get it. All right, so this is really important, is that oftentimes we'll feel like there's a bad energy around us that we need to shake it off, right? Go away. The things are just aren't working right. Or maybe you just feel there's a massive shift of dark energy around you. Yes, using crystals and to me, of course, shungite is so important. But also, we need protection and prayer and light. But sometimes you just have to tell it like it is. And that's the way it is. So one time, a few years back, and this doesn't happen very often because I've really, really shut down. And I think that what happens is when I'm in it's been a long time since I've been in a not so good place, but a few years ago when I was struggling to get out of my way, because I came back once I took the Theta Healing class, and I started growing again and started getting my messages and writing my first book, this book. And then I started writing another book. Here's my other book right here. The Create Your Magic book, this one here for children and adults, energy healing book. So this one is the one that teaches you how to close down and open back up. This is the one. This is very, very powerful. This one here, Blast Off to Create Your Magic. Right now, you can go to my website, but not at this moment because it's being reconstructed because somebody hacked into it a while ago. And but that book, if you want that book, I have it. And I also have an MP3 of it too. And that book teaches you how to really shut down and attune up whenever you want to heighten your chakras. And then the best part is it even teaches you energy healing. So it really, really helps you to learn to be in control of your energy field. That's the most important. And then there was something else I was going to tell you. Ooh, I just forgot what it was. Do you guys remember? I was going to tell you something else and I started talking about the book. What was it? I don't remember. I was going to tell you. I was going to tell you about something scary. So yeah. So what happens is when something scary happens. So one day I woke up, and oftentimes, this is not the first time, but a couple times. Like if you have some really sexy dreams, ever have a really sexual dream? Scary stories. Yeah, scary stories. Have you ever had a dream that you feel like it's really sexual and it's really real and it's not really with somebody you know? Has that ever happened to you? Let me know. Because it has happened to me, and that is certainly Yes, right? So, so oftentimes this is real. And these are entities are that are crossing the line, and they should not be crossing the line. So, because they're entering into your energy field, trying to get into that human field, and which of course is an absolute no-no. So there are laws that govern what we can and cannot do, just like in this world, in the physical world, and just like in the energetic world. Same thing, energy world. Law of attraction, the law of gratitude, the law of gravity. So one of the laws is that when you state and you deal with entities, you tell them that they cannot cross this line. And for the most part, I've never had as evil and demonic as one can be. And I have seen some really crazy things. They will leave. You tell them to leave and they will leave. And you put that white light around you. You put that white light around your house, around your children, around your families. And you give your prayers of whatever it is that you pray to, whether you want to do, the Our Father, the Hail Marys, whatever it is that you need. You can do your sage, you can do anything that is in the highest and best light that you can. Call on your angels to come on in, because let me tell you, they will leave. They will leave, but you got to get serious. I mean, you actually have the tone with them. Like if you're talking to your kid, or somebody that you're really pissed off with, like, you are not allowed in this house. You are not allowed in this energy field. You are not allowed to stay here, and you stay away from me and do not ever touch me again. And it's time for you to leave, because this house is surrounded by light. It's surrounded by love. And this energy that I have in here does not invite you ever to come back again. And it's time for you to leave, because you do not want that to happen. It might feel good when they're doing a dream with you, but let me tell you something, they're taking advantage of you. That's no different than rape. So that's really, really important. And it's important for you to tell them that. So like one time I woke up and my husband used to work the midnight shifts often. And there were some, when I was like coming back into learning how to work with my intuition again and becoming in tune, but I wasn't really closing off and opening up like I should have. So it was an open light all the time. And I knew that I would, and oftentimes when you're really focused, and I want you guys to attest to this one. Let's see. I felt some bad juju when I read a book about inviting demons. Solomon Key book. Oh, wow. Yeah. So, yeah. And there is bad juju out there. So it's really important. And that's why I say it is important to be in tune. Because when you're not in tune, you're going to close yourself off. You're going to block yourself from moving forward in this world. The more in tune you are, the more you're in touch with light, in touch with energy, in touch with understanding frequency and vibration, the higher level you're going to go, the greater you're going to soar. Everything's going to start working out for you, because you're going to become unblocked. But then you're also going to understand how to work with this, because as you begin to move forward in light and love, there's always going to be things that are going to hold you back, always. My video is funky. Okay. And just like in life, we always have energies that hold us back. So sometimes when you're moving forward at a really fast pace and you're sitting in your way because you're in fear, the fears will always drop. The fears will bring in, as we call the demonic beings as well, because the more in fear you are, the lower your frequency is. So that's what was happening. I was in fear about moving forward. I was really opening up intuitively wise. I had fears of moving forward. I didn't want to move forward, but yet I knew I was supposed to, because I'm a little backwards. Rather than creating a vision board and wanting to get there, I've always seen what I'm doing, where I'm going to be, and then I know I'm going to get there. So that's scary, because how do you want to get to where you're going? You have to get to where you're going first. It's like being on vacation, right? You know your destination, and now you just got to make your journey there. So living this life, I'll know like 10, 15 years ahead of time, or even 5 years ahead of time. I know what I'm doing. And when I was in my 20s, like I said, I knew what I was going to be doing in my 50s and 40s. Well, I'm not 50 yet. Almost there. But that was scary. I didn't want to know that. That was scary for me. So I was living in fear. And when you're living in fear, that's when it really attracts those demonic frequencies and or the lower level frequencies. So the higher you are, the higher vibration, the less that comes in. And so one day, a few years back, I'm laying there and I felt this sexual dream come on. It was so real. It was so real. I couldn't believe how real it was. I was like, oh my God. Right? Almost like if my husband was there, but I knew it was my husband's energy. And plus I knew he wasn't there. So what happens is that I end up, if I remember correctly, I woke up and, oh no, I remember like talking in my sleep saying, go away, you don't belong here, because I realized, like, I knew that it was somebody that wasn't there, that was trying to be intimate with me, but it wasn't anybody that I wanted to be intimate with. And I open my eyes and I see this guy standing there, this guy in a big old afro. And it was so weird. I'm like, what the heck are you doing here? And he says, oh, he goes, I'm just here because I want to be with you. And I'm like, what are you doing here? I had no idea how he even got in, right? Like a portal or something. But like I said, this is when I was walking around unprotected. So I'm like, you don't belong here. And so I'm like, and he's like, I don't know what he said at the time, but it like freaked me out. And then I like closed my eyes and like he wanted to go away. So I don't know. I got up, I left the room. I'm like, I don't want to be around this. So I turn around, I come back in the room because I went out to the kitchen. I come back into the room and there he was standing there. I'm telling you, it was like right out of the disco days, completely out of the disco days. And like, I look at him like, you know what? And I got really mad. I'm like, you don't belong here. You need to get out of here. I said, do you see that? And that's when I showed him, you show them that light. Oh God, here goes my nose is starting to itch. So I said, you see that light over there? I said, you need to go to that light right now. And you just imagine the white light. You just imagine that portal. I said, you need to go to that white light right now. He says, I'm not going to that white light. He says, I don't need to go to that white light. He says, I want to stay here. He says, I said, you can't stay here. I said, because they said, you want to have sexual relationships with people? My nose just started to itch too. No way. See? Ha ha. That's so funny. So I said, you want to stay here and have sex? Because I'm trying to play a mind game with him because he didn't want to leave. And he's got to leave. I'm not keeping him in my house. So I said, if you want to have sexual relationships with somebody, I said, you can't have them with me or anybody else because guess what? I'm alive and I'm here and I have this physical thing. You are not alive anymore. Deal with it and move on. I said, but if you go through that window right there, that door, white light, do you see it? He's like, because now I'm getting his interest. Now it's something that he's interested in, right? He says, yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it. And I said, yeah. I said, you go to that white light. I said, you can do as much as you want with anybody else. I said, because that there is that other side where you belong. And literally, like that, he was gone. Because he was like, okay, right? And like that, he was gone. Yours did too, Betsy. That's so funny, right? Right? I love it. So see how strong it is? So the collective energy of learning to work together as light workers and learning to work with our energy, we can raise our vibration in such an amazing place. I've worked with some clients where, and this is something I'd like to do again in the future, and I'd like to actually write a book like this, where I will start a topic on information on energy and intuition. I'll start the intuitive topic. And then remember how like when you were in middle school and when you're in elementary school, you write the topic and then you pass the topic along and you build and build and build on it, right? Well, here's what's amazing is that when you are in the collective energy, I can start the topic and then the next person who's in the high vibration can finish that, can complete that sentence through channel. The next one complete the topic through channel. Complete the topic through messages and channel again, and it becomes this high vibration book of collective energies. It's like the coolest thing. And but you have to be in that special place at that special time. You have to really be tuned in, and you have to really trust the process and trust how you're receiving your messages and how you're journaling. Pretty cool, huh? So, yeah, so with that being said, there is so much to what I have learned from the other side. So much that when I was younger and I questioned everything, um, I started reading some books from other channelers that they wrote it. It was all the same exact information. Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to get off too anyway, because this has been over just an hour now, so I always cut it off by now. Thank you, Rachel, for joining me, and thank you, everybody else. So, yeah, so basically, pick up a book, and learn from the other side. Learn what happens, learn about it, because there is so much to learn and grow. And with that being said, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight on, everything I learned from the other side, because there's so much about intuition, and there's so many stories to share that I have. Yeah, thank you, Rachel. If you like this, please, make comments in the comment section below. If you have questions, let me know in the future what, some more topics that I can talk about, whether it's energy healing, life coaching, intuitive coaching. What books do you recommend? I will I can't remember I have a book that's really good, Betsy. I will post it on this video because I don't have it up on my bookshelf here. It's in my other room that I actually recommend to people all the time. It was written probably about 15 years ago. I haven't recommended it to anybody lately. But what happens when you pass away and what it's like on the other side. And this book was like, I bought a whole bunch of them at one time, and I would just give them out to people. Now I'm like down to 2 or 3. Here goes my nose. So yeah, I will post it on this video so that way people know. And the author, and he was a very famous author at the time. Haven't heard from him lately. Definitely, read that book, because it just like made so much sense to me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is everything that I always knew, and now I have complete validation. So with that being said, thank you so much for you guys being on here. I really do. I've been working on coming on once a week. So look for my emails or look for my Facebook, messages that say I'm going to be live. I'm going to try to do them on my fan page from now on, or my personal page, so that way we can have more people joining us. With that being said, have a good night. Thank you for the hearts. I love you, and I will have a great evening. And come join me at sharonada.com, and I'll see you guys around. Have a great night. Thank you. Bye.